guys, in this video today, I've had a lot of requests for this subject, which is gaslighting, and like an explanation of it, and maybe some of the tactics that are used by manipulators that involve gaslighting. So gaslighting is basically where somebody is psychologically manipulating another person to question their own reality and their own sanity. And this is a tactic that's very commonly used by sex addicts, porn addicts, narcissists, psychopaths, sociopaths, active addicts, drug addicts, alcoholics, whatever. Basically what you're doing is you're making the victim question their own reality. And that can be in the form of, it can be in like these different forms. It can be like, I never said that. Or no, I wasn't wearing that particular red jacket that day. I mean, it could be as silly as that, like making you totally making you question your reality. It could be, you're oversensitive, you're overly emotional, you're getting, overly upset, you're jealous, you're insecure, you've always been insecure, you've always been jealous. I would never, I would never cheat on you. Like there's just all this manipulation, and they put it back on the victim and like make them question their reality. Like, I never said that. That's not what I meant. You misunderstood. I disagree. All of these sort of like highly manipulative tactics when somebody is actually just trying to get to, the truth, right? And gaslighting is a favorite tactic. What it does, unfortunately, to the victim is it creates a lot of cognitive dissonance in their brain. It can create a foggy brain. It can create a lot of confusion, and the victim, they don't know. They question their reality. They're like, oh, well, maybe I am wrong, or maybe, maybe I am overly jealous, or maybe I am insecure. And they, especially if you're like a codependent, or you're somebody who's very self-reflective, maybe you're not a codependent, but you're just able to like practice some introspection and some self-reflection, you might be saying, yeah, well, maybe they're right, or I must have misheard, or perhaps I did misunderstand, and I guess I am insecure and jealous, and I'm just being overly, paranoid, right? And that is what the narcissist, the psychopath, sociopath, the sex addict, that's what they want to create in their victim, is confusion and disorientation. It keeps the victim off kilter. It makes the victim question their own, reality or perception of what's happening. And it is a very insidious, very subtle, very manipulative form of abuse. It's psychological and emotional manipulation at a high level. And if you are a recipient of this, I am so sorry, because you do not deserve this. It's an awful thing to endure. It can take, I think, months, maybe even sometimes years to like heal from this, because it makes you second guess like all of your reality, and makes you feel it can make you feel paranoid and confused and anxious, and in some people, if you read the literature, it can even cause mental health breakdowns in the recipient, because they're just absolutely overwhelmed by this cognitive dissonance, where they can't reconcile what their intuition is telling them, what they believe that they remember, their perception, their memory, their mind, with what the gaslighter is telling them, and how the gaslighter is manipulating them. And again, they use a lot of projection. The gaslighter uses projection and deflection, and tries to put it back onto the recipient, the unfortunate recipient. And quite often, when you're communicating with one of these manipulators, like, you could come to them with like a legitimate concern. You could question them, like, where were you last night? Why didn't you come home last night? And they could make up some lie, like, oh, I was sleeping at the climbing gym, or whatever, whatever lie that they're going to tell. And, the recipient was like, oh, okay, well, maybe that's true. And they try to, figure it out or whatever. But eventually, like, that the victim just starts to feel crazy, because they don't know what's the truth, what's true, what's false. They don't know. They're so confused. They're in such this state of like confusion and anxiety, and like this mentally, foggy brain, awful place to be in. And it can take a long time to heal from this. It can actually make you question future interactions with other people. It can make you almost paranoid, where you don't trust anyone because you're like, you don't know, if you're being gaslit or not. Normal people do not use this tactic. If they do, it's very rare. If they do, it's usually unintentional. This is an absolutely strategic, planful, thought out manipulation that psychological abusers will use, and it is very cunning. It's very crafty. Don't think that it's innocent, because it's not, and it's not that it's very deliberate. So understand that if this is happening to you, it is a very deliberate attempt to make you be off kilter, question your reality, question your sanity, and really be in a state of mental confusion and uncertainty and insecurity. And that is what it creates in the victim, and it is an awful thing to endure. And I'm so sorry if you went through it. You do not deserve that. And one thing I think it's really good is to start, like, if you are with somebody and you think you may be being gaslit, start documenting things. Start writing down things, like what the dates, what they said. Start documenting, and also check with other people that you really truly trust, and be like, this is what he said, and this is what I believe to be true. What do you think? And like, double check with people. And eventually, obviously, if you're with somebody who's engaging in these tactics, this is not somebody who can be in a functioning, happy, healthy relationship. You cannot use this kind of manipulation and torture on another person and think that you're going to have anything like trust or partnership or any sort of positive, healthy interaction. They cannot have healthy relationships. If you're engaging in gaslighting with your partner, you're not a partner. So I don't know if this helps, but I'll do more videos on this. But somebody just had asked for a video on gaslighting, so I thought I would sort of elaborate on that. One thing to note, it's from a film. I want to say it's from the 1940s. And a man marries a woman. He pretends to be in love with her. He is a complete con artist. He's, trying to actually make her go insane so he can steal her money and get her either committed or make her, commit suicide or whatever. Mostly he's planning on trying to get her out of the picture so that he can take her money. And he does a lot of very conniving things, like he moves pictures around. He acts like, she'll be like, oh, look at the gas light, it's on. And he'll be like, there's no light on, there's no gas light on, I don't know what you're talking about. And then also, like, I think he pays somebody to walk on the second floor, and she hears footsteps, and she's like, do you hear those footsteps? Who's up there? And he goes upstairs and he comes down, he's like, there's no one up there, that's all in your head. You're crazy. He like makes her think that she's crazy, and he almost is very successful at it. He does this over a long period of time, and until she's able to get some outside source and outside validation and proof, like this guy almost succeeds in his duplicitous plan to make her lose her mind so he can take her money. He hides different, he'll like take her brooch and hide it. He does all these things, and then he's like, yeah, you're crazy. He makes you think she's crazy. So that may be a film worth watching. It's an old film, but it's that's, I think, where the term came from, and they do a very good job of sort of demonstrating, a high level of gaslighting, manipulation, psychological torture, and abuse, making another human being question their own reality and their own sanity with your, with incredible duplicity. So don't know if this is helpful, but just sharing more about the gaslighter. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.